There's never been a better time to talk draft week trades. And yes, the 49ers are realistic candidates to make at least one swap here over the course of the next week plus. It's going to be busy around the league as today's Dexter Lawrence update verifies. The New York Giants and their star defensive tackle remain far, far apart. It appears that he wants over $30 million annually, and there's even one report that indicates that the Giants are about $10 million in APY away from the Lawrence asking price. We saw Trent Williams get traded to the Dallas Cowboys last year. Might Lawrence get traded? There apparently is a lot of interest. If the 49ers hop on this, well, they would have to spend a ton of draft capital for a position that they already upgraded via trade over the course of this offseason. Osa Odighizuwa is a defensive tackle. Now, that is a general position, though. Dexter Lawrence is more of a one technique. He's much heavier than Osa Odighizuwa, who's only about 290 pounds. With Lawrence, you'd get a monstrous nose tackle type who can also rush the passer. And if the 49ers want to truly be dominant on the interior, maybe they go for something like this. But I'd say it's much more unlikely than it is likely due to the price tag that would be associated on both ends. Now, along the line of trades, there are some real possibilities when it comes to the 49ers, who currently have 9 linebackers under contract. That room is very, very crowded. So Dee Winters, who's entering the final year of his deal, logic simply tells you that the 49ers might be willing to part ways with him, especially if it means they can bolster their later round draft capital this year. As it currently stands, the 49ers have 6 picks in the 2026 draft. 1 in the first, number 27, 1 in the second round, number 58, and then 4 in the fourth round. There's nothing in the third because they traded it away for Osa Odighizuwa. Nothing in the 5th, 6th, or 7th. If you could find a way to send a linebacker off who is entering the lame duck year of his contract in order to bolster some of that late round draft capital, perhaps you do it if you are the 49ers. That is certainly something to look out for, and it is worth noting that the 49ers, according to Aaron Wilson, have hosted Oklahoma linebacker Kendall Daniels on a visit. Now, the reason that Daniels is particularly intriguing to me is because he played safety for the first 3 years of his college career. Then he moved to linebacker, where he was a rangy linebacker. He had 31 and a half career tackles for loss. So he was good blitzing near the line, and obviously has some coverage ability because he did start his college career and played multiple years at safety. They found a reason to move him closer to the line of scrimmage. Part of that might be the lack of speed here. He runs close to a 4.8 40. That could scare some teams off. But worth noting that the 49ers are looking at a hybrid type of player. We saw how much success the Seattle Seahawks had drafting Nick Emanwuri, a true hybrid player, somebody who could play safety, linebacker, even a little bit of a slot cornerback role. That allowed Seattle's defense to usher in a new era of adaptability. The 49ers and many teams around the league, I think, are thinking the same things. It is the natural antidote to all of these extremely flexible, positionless offenses. So maybe there's a linebacker leaving for the 49ers over the course of the next week plus, since that room is so crowded, and maybe there is a hybrid player coming in. We'll just have to see how the chips fall in this NFL draft. Another trade possibility lies with the 49ers trading out of pick number 27. The Arizona Cardinals officially hosting Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback, on a top 30 visit. Last year, the New York Giants traded up from the same exact spot that the Cardinals currently hold in this draft, number 34 in the second round. The Giants traded up to number 25 in the first round to select Jackson Dart, the quarterback out of Ole Miss. Well, the 49ers are near number 25. They're at number 27. If you look at what the Giants gave up last year, they sent number 99 and a future third round pick. So 3 picks on top of the number 34 pick. that they shipped over to be able to grab number 25 and then draft Jackson Dart. It doesn't seem the teams are all too excited about giving up 2027 picks, future picks this year, because that 2027 draft is supposed to be very, very strong. But I think a comparable trade return, say that the Cardinals want to trade up to number 27 in order to draft Ty Simpson and get that fifth-year team control, because the fifth-year option exists for first-round picks. A similar return would look like number 34, number 104, which is in the fourth round, and number 183, which is in the sixth round, heading over to San Francisco. The Cardinals also own number 143, which is a fifth-round pick, and the 49ers may not be all too willing to give a divisional rival a potential favor, maybe their future franchise quarterback, without a heftier price. So maybe it would be realistic for number 34, a fourth rounder, and a fifth rounder to head from Arizona to San Francisco so that Arizona could select Ty Simpson. It's worth talking about because the 49ers currently, it is an odd draft setup right now for San Francisco with all of those picks coming in the fourth and then nothing after it. Well, if you can tack on a fifth or even a sixth round pick, and then we could talk about the Dee Winters trade as well. If that can bring you a seventh rounder, well, then all of a sudden you've got a much more balanced NFL draft and you're not twiddling your thumbs as the event wraps to a close on Saturday. Another top 30 visit for the 49ers is the offensive lineman Alex Harkey out of the University of Oregon. This is a player the 49ers have done a lot of work on. They interviewed him at the NFL Combine. They've done a Zoom interview with him. And now a top 30 visit with a guard who played tight end to begin his college career. He was a 260-pound tight end back in 2020. Then by 2021, he had moved to the offensive line, played right tackle at Oregon, but he projects as a guard. His arms just over 31 inches long. So that's too short, I think, for an expectation to play the offensive tackle position. You can see the 49ers building up all this option power. They can go direct to guard to try to plug and play at left guard. I think somebody like Harkey still has plenty of meat left on the bone as far as development goes because he did come to offensive line play relatively late. Tests well athletically across the board. Is not going to be somebody like Caden Proctor, who is completely off the charts athletically, especially given his size, but is a solid prospect who might be available there for the 49ers in the fourth round or the fifth round if they do pick up an extra fifth round pick to take. Remember that there is a connection to Oregon. John Lynch and Dan Lanning, the Ducks head coach, are good friends. So I think that somebody like Alex Harkey, on whom the 49ers have done a lot of research, is definitely a player to watch for San Francisco. As far as Proctor goes, well, the chances that he's down available at number 27 are slim to none. We could talk about another trade there. The 49ers probably would have to trade up in order to draft Caden Proctor, the massive offensive tackle out of Alabama. Really interesting story on him is he actually transferred to Iowa, which is where he grew up over the course of his college career, but didn't like it at Iowa and then transferred back to Alabama. This Wild West transfer world now in college football. I mean, guys don't have to lock themselves in via contract. They can just bail again when the transfer portal opens up. And Caden Proctor said that Iowa was not a fit for him, and he ended it back up in Alabama, said that that was the worst decision of his life to transfer away in the first place. The dude is an absolute wall in pass protection. I think he's still developing as a run blocker. Now, he has not played any guard yet. He's only played at that tackle position. But a lot of NFL evaluators think that he can play guard and might even be better as a guard than NFL level. He's over 6'6". I mean, he's massive. And I think that the 49ers, I mean, this could be if Trent Williams remains on this football team and you also draft Caden Proctor, say you trade up for him, somehow you get this massive dude out of the University of Alabama, you can create this epic left side of the offensive line for the short run if he can indeed play that guard position. And, well, you look at the size if you're the 49ers, if you're any team, and you salivate. The issue here, though, is that there are teams ahead of San Francisco who badly need an offensive tackle now, like the Detroit Lions. Saw Taylor Decker cut from the Detroit Lions. They pick ahead of the 49ers. I think that the likelihood of the Lions going after somebody like Caden Proctor, if other teams haven't done it yet, is very, very high. So that would actually take some maneuverability upward for the 49ers in this draft. Is that impossible? No. But they also have this variable of Trent Williams and that ongoing contract situation. Of course, there could be the extremely wild twist and turn of Trent Williams getting traded, and that could give the 49ers a whole lot more draft capital. We've talked about Caleb Lomu, the offensive tackle who might be around at number 27. He visited the 49ers yesterday. That's probably somebody that would be able to wait in the wings of Trent Williams. Now, trading Trent away, let's illustrate it this way. And I said this when we talked about Lomu on Tuesday, any version of the 49ers with Trent Williams not on the team next year is going to be worse at left tackle than the 49ers would be if Trent Williams were on the football team. One could argue that making a crazy move and recouping capital for Trent Williams could be better for the 49ers in the long term. Yes, I get that. He's going to be 38 years old. But when you just look at 2026 and you look at that left tackle position, Trent Williams is the best option. He's better than any option coming out of college because no matter how good the prospect, he's not going to be able to exceed the production of a first ballot Hall of Famer, probably one of the best offensive linemen of all time. We could put it that way for Trent Williams. So if the 49ers are intent on maximizing 2026 while also building for the future, well, then Caden Proctor would make sense in a guard to tackle swap down the road. And that would be an aggressive maneuver for the 49ers, not just to trade up to get Caden Proctor, but would be an aggressive maneuver because a guard to tackle developmental swap doesn't often happen, doesn't often work in the NFL. There's a reason the guys focus on singular positions in this league because playing everywhere is difficult. You're playing against the very best, but with defensive tackles getting bigger and bigger, you've got some really, really strong DTs in the league now. You can counter with some real size on the offensive line. And I think that in the short term, there's a reason why the 49ers are hosting Caden Proctor. I think in the short term, this would be one of the few candidates that could run that guard to tackle swap for San Francisco. Guard early in his career, tackle a little bit later on once Trent Williams is done. Is that ambitious? Of course. Would it be hard to thread that needle draft-wise to get this guy? Yes, and that's why the 49ers have to set themselves up with multiple options. It is all about option power. That is how you have to approach a draft because you don't pick until number 27 or you're not scheduled to pick until then. What happens before? What happens after? You can't really chart that. You can try to guess it ahead of time, but you don't know who's going to be available, and you've got to give yourself multiple different options or else you're not going to be ready to successfully execute a draft. Just think about a game. If you only have one option for what to run at play number 27, it's probably not going to end up well unless you get really, really lucky. So the 49ers are giving themselves as much option power as possible. As you can see, they're studying high-level offensive tackles. Caden Proctor, they're studying lower first-round offensive tackles. Caleb Lomu visited the facility yesterday. They're studying wide receivers at all levels of the draft. We've gone through all those 30 visits. They've got first, second, fourth, fifth-round wide receivers all studied, all have come in on top 30 visits. And they, as stated, have been clearly interested in that guard position with Harkey today talking about him. That just further verifies that. Of course, Malachi Lawrence has visited. Romello Hyde has visited. The defensive line need is real. Just yesterday, we talked about Chris McClellan, a defensive tackle, visiting the 49ers, and maybe we could tie that into Dexter Lawrence, who is available, but at a very, very high price. So trade up, trade down, trade for a player, trade Dee Winters away, all those possibilities on the table for the 49ers. And, I think that right now that makes it really, really exciting. Stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button. Hopefully we've outlined the business strategy for the 49ers moving forward well, and I can't wait to document it as things start to speed up over the course of the next week plus.